Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Heavy Metal History. I bet you're seeing this right now and thinking, what is this? What's going on? Where's the guest? Well, I'm trying something new this year since there's a visual component to all this. So I'm going to be doing intros so you can get an idea of what the episode's about. So for this episode, my guest is the illustrious Ernie C from the band Body Count, the guitar player of Body Count. He is one of the remaining original members besides Ice-T. So, man, me and Ernie, man, he shared a ton of stories about touring, writing a bunch of the records, a bunch of stories about this current record that, if you've been following him on social media, some of the stuff is already out there. But, for maybe people who haven't followed them or this is your first time hearing about it, there's a lot of good stories about how they got David Gilmour to play on Comfortably Numb, all the craziness with that, playing Jimmy Fallon, writing with Will Putney, and again, just more stories. I mean, Ernie has been around the scene for a very long time. The band's influence on the genre is very apparent when you look at when they started versus what came after, and how a lot of new metal bands are really aping that kind of rap metal style. And that's what Body Count really influenced in a lot of the scene. And they put out a record late last year, which was on our it was an honorable mention on our best of list for the end of 2024. So I got to talk to Ernie not long after that and get into a little bit about the record. And it's their best selling record to date, from what I understand, or best reviewed, something like that. Anyways, you got to check this one out. Ernie has a lot of great stories. Like, I kid you not. I mean, stories after stories after stories. And it's great hearing them from the man who lived it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ernie C. Well, how you doing today, man? Everything going good?
Everything goes good every day that I'm alive since I quit drinking. So
Hey,
it's a it's a good thing.
it's good. I'm glad to hear that. Been trying to do that. That's cut it, cut it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a hard thing, but sometimes in my case, it was just time.
Yeah.
Especially being in rock and roll, so you get all the writer was out of control.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. They took me. You can record all this, but I
Yeah,
don't care. But they took me on a tour of the Jaeger fast factory. I was the poster child for Jaeger. So
that's man, that's one thing I miss too, is like getting drink tickets every night and stuff like that. It's just like, what do you want on your rider? Oh, a case of all these beers, and oh man,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just so
But
much.
now a writer don't hardly have any alcohol on it. I mean, it's like one bottle of vodka, and maybe it gets drank in
Yeah.
in two or three shows.
Damn.
Yeah,
Well, that's good,
yeah. I
man.
know.
I'm really happy to hear that. That's awesome that you're doing that.
It's rock and roll. It's part of rock and roll. And
Yeah.
all the people that I used to drink with, the ones that are still alive, don't drink. You know.
Everybody's growing up, getting too old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, just to give you a little rundown, man. I kind of do this podcast. It's kind of about the history of metal.
Okay.
Obviously, I want to talk to you guys about the new album, but you guys have such a expansive history. I want to touch on some of that stuff as well as your personal like music history and stuff like that as well. So
Okay.
that's
Where you
that's
at?
what we're
Where
doing.
you at?
I am in Tennessee,
In Tennessee. Where at?
Chattanooga.
Okay. I live in Murfreesboro for a minute.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's not too far
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Like an
Yeah.
hour,
I know
hour and a
exactly.
half.
Yeah. I know exactly where you are. Yeah. Actually, I was just talking to someone down there. I know a lot of people, rock and rollers that have moved down there because country is
Yeah,
the new rock and roll, the 135 rock and roll now.
yeah, all up in Nashville. I bet it's where
Yeah,
all that is.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. I got a good Willie Nelson story too, if you want to hear it later
let's
on or
hear it, man.
whenever you want to hear it. Okay, so we had this bus driver, right? So he
Hmm?
stole our bus. We fired him because he was trying to hang out with us too much. So we fired him, right? So he came back during one of our shows and he stole our bus. He stole it in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yeah, he's because we had this other driver. We came out after the show and he said they done stole the coach. He was real southern. And we're like, what? You know, they done stole the coach. What? They stole the bus. So our bus is gone. So we needed another bus. So we
Is all your
we
guys'
called
stuff still on there too?
No, no, all the stuff was off. It was
Okay.
in the hotel. Everything was off. But the bus was gone. So we needed another bus. So Florida Coach, at the time, they called up Willie Nelson. And Willie says, I'll give them a bus, and he let us borrow the bus. But the bus was all cowhide and had these horns on the front of it. So we started pulling into the shows
That's
with this
incredible.
with this country bus, like with the leather on the side of it. And they're like, this is body count? Yeah, but anyway, I met Willie's nephew not too long ago. I said, tell your uncle that we're very thankful for him letting us use his bus for a while.
When did that happen?
That was happened in the 90s. All our good stories happened during the 90s.
Oh yeah,
now,
yeah.
now the stuff is kind of normal. It's like normal stuff, normal rock and roll stuff.
Well, Ernie, how I like to start this podcast, man, is I want to know about your personal heavy metal history. You've been around the scene a long time, so really like those records and bands that you remember that got you into the genre and why you gravitated towards it.
Okay. Well, first of all, I started playing guitar when I was like 12 years old. So I ended up here in Los Angeles. I moved from Detroit and I didn't have nothing to do. It's either join a gang or do something. So I decided to play the guitar. It seemed a lot safer. So I played the guitar and, I started listening to R&B radio. That's what you listen to when you start playing. And then a friend of mine from down the street, this older cat, he gave me some Deep Purple and Led
Mhm.
Zeppelin. And so I was like, wow, this stuff is really cool. So that's what I started. I mean, I was about 13, 14 years old. I started
Yeah.
listening, started playing that stuff. But and then people would, because I'm left-handed, people would always say, "Oh, Hendrix, Hendrix." I would listen to Hendrix, but I didn't gravitate toward Hendrix, because
Right.
I listened to BB King, and that was like the format, the basis of what Jimmy was. The old blues was the basis of what Jimmy was. Your T-Bone Walker and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
Jimmy, only reason I gravitated to Jimmy because when I first started playing the guitar, the teacher was teaching me right-handed because he
Oh
said to me,
wow.
he said, if you're going to play the piano, you wouldn't change around all the keyboard, would you, to play the piano? And I was like, oh, it makes sense. No, I wouldn't do that. He says, we're not going to change around the guitar. So he's had me. I still can play rhythm right-handed from years of playing like that. But then I saw Hendrix play. I was like, oh, hold it. He didn't change. He changed
Yeah.
around the strings. So I said, I'm going to change around the strings. So I changed around the strings, and then my brain started working a little better, and I was able to play stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine like that shift it has to be so hard because it's just not natural for you. That sounds like a
No,
bad teacher in a way, like not playing to your
yeah,
strengths, you know?
he had his own ego thing. If you look
Uh-huh.
back when you're 12 and 13 and 14 years old, the people that are at music school, you're figuring they know what they're doing. But they don't. Sometimes they're frustrated musicians that
Yeah.
didn't make it to what they want to do. So they just kind of, put their will on you.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like you managed to like find your own way though, like with playing and everything, correct?
Yeah, I found my own way. I found, I listened to a lot of different stuff and I had an opportunity to play with a lot of different people. That's,
Uh-huh.
and listen to a lot of different things. So that kind of, I always say, I don't listen to one type of music. I meet some kids now, they're like, I just listen to this, I listen to that. I listen to everything. And that's I think what makes Body Count kind of unique. It has the
Right.
influence of a lot of different things. And it's not so R&B ish. It's not rap. It's not metal. It's rock. I listen to jazz rock. I was listening to Weather Report for a while. Return to Forever. All kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. Like I gotta have like a nice expansive music. Like I love heavy metal, don't get me wrong, but I can't
Yeah,
listen to it all the
exactly,
time. Like
exactly.
it's just not.
I love heavy metal, but metal is it's changing. It changes. It formats.
Yeah.
It does all kind of different things to it.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing I wanted to touch on. You know, you guys were coming up in the 90s when metal was still kind of shifting to figure out, genres and all that stuff. And, when you guys were trying to figure out what kind of metal and what style to play, like how did you decide on that factor?
Well, when Ice and I first got together to do this, we just did it. It wasn't, he was listening to Slayer and things like that. And like I said, I was listening to Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. So we kind
Yeah,
of got it together. And then the band, the first record sounds more like a punk band. You know what I
it
mean?
does.
It sounds
Yeah,
more punk. It's looser, because I was playing, strumming more so. So I don't know. That's all the influences just came together in a mesh
yeah.
of different styles. So it was no, you know, like we're going to sound like this. We just got together with the people we had, and that's the way it came out.
Yeah, so I remember I was still kind of young when that first album came out, but man, I remember seeing a video, I don't remember which one, and just D-Rock wearing the Jason mask.
Yeah,
And I was
that
being
was
like,
probably
what is
yeah,
this? This is great. Great. Got a Jason mask on. Because I love horror movies even as a young kid, and I immediately like gravitated towards, that aesthetic in the band. Later figuring out like I didn't even know Ice-T was a rapper when I first saw it, and then figuring out later like, wait, he's a rapper? No way.
yeah, right. And now people don't know that he's a rapper. They think he's just on Law and Order.
Right.
So
Right.
because he's been on there, almost 20 years, so
Oh
over
man.
20 years. So people don't know. But that must have been There Goes the Neighborhood, like the first video that we had on MTV. It was kind of like when we first started the band, we didn't know exactly where we fit because there wasn't
Hmm.
a thing of rap and rock together. The only rap
Right.
and rock together was Run DMC and Aerosmith, which was kind of a novelty, or Judgment Night. Those were kind of novelties. We had a real band that was, fusing these things together. When we first started playing, we toured Guns N' Roses. We opened for LA Guns. We opened for,
Wow.
DRI. There was thrash metal. We opened for everyone and anyone that we could until later on in life. Now there's Corn and the Rage Against the Machines. They opened for us. So
Wow.
now later on, there became an avenue for us to go on.
Yeah, do you please correct me if I'm wrong with this, but it feels like the way the band kind of put those two different styles together with like the hip hop and the punk and metal stuff, it seems like in the later 90s, early 2000s, there was a bunch of bands that really tried to not necessarily rip that off, but they were influenced by you guys. And it seems like you guys don't get enough credit for that until recently. And now people are kind of going back and be like, well, yeah, Body Count did that first.
It's a funny thing because we didn't try to go out to do that. It's just the way
Right.
it happened. And then other groups started coming and like, oh, well, they're kind of similar to us. Our whole thing when we started this band was just to come as we are. I always say Nirvana influenced us a lot because
Mm.
they we came into being in 1989 when people were still wearing spandex and rock bands were big and this and that. We saw Nirvana and they were like they came out with their flannels on and they came out looking the way they look. We toured with
Another
early.
lefty too.
Yes, exactly. And we toured with we did some shows with Soundgarden when they first started, because they came looking the way we looked. So when we started Body Count, we said, well, let's just look the way we look in the hood, instead of getting all glammed up, So let's just
Yeah.
look the way we look. And that's kind of what, set the format for what we were doing.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like tracing back like little influences like that, where like it just takes some time for people to finally realize, like, this band has had way more of an influence than you realize until now when like, you guys won a Grammy and then this
Right.
album's getting like great reviews and people are finally just being like, well, yeah, of course they influenced a lot of like the 90s and the new metal stuff because they've been around since, that time.
Right. It's just sticking with it. We stayed true to what we're doing exactly what we did 30 years ago. We're just doing it. Same thing.
Yeah. So when the last album came out, guys, it unfortunately came out at the worst time imaginable,
Mm,
and you guys didn't play any shows off that record, correct?
No, we didn't play. We were scheduled to go on Jimmy Fallon's show with Amy Lee and do the song with her, which I
What?
wanted to do. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
wanted to sing that song because I knew Ben Moody from the original band.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Ben Moody was born in a place called. He lived in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is such a small dot on the map. But my father was from there, and I
Oh
thought we
wow.
thought we were related to each other.
Yeah, that's so during that time, like when you guys really couldn't play shows, like how were you guys taking things as a band? Like were you just kind of like, well, I guess that's it, or like were you still wanting to like write and play music? I know Ice has mentioned in a couple of interviews that like he didn't really think he had another album in him, and now here we are.
Yeah, well, we took we that album was actually that album was really good. We had good
Yeah.
artwork on it and everything, and we wanted to play that album. And so then they said, "Give us another record," and we're like, eh. And we haven't even played the record. So I consider this like a double album set, you know what I mean? Because they came out so close. They didn't come out close together, but they're like the same. A band like us, we write some songs, then we go out and play. So the
Uh,
band gets a chance to grow during that time. This time we didn't get a chance to play, so we didn't grow a whole lot the way we normally do it. So it's like the same writing process on these two records.
so what does that look like, your guys' writing process when you kind of start forming
Well,
everything?
on this last one, Will Putney wrote a lot of stuff, and we just threw in ideas just because he's there in New York with Ice.
Yeah.
He's like 20 minutes from him, and we're in Los Angeles. But Will's like the extra member of our band, the guitar player. When we first met him years ago, he's produced every album since we had this comeback. But he understands what the band is. So
Yeah.
he talked with us. He understands what we do. He understood the first records we did. So anything he does, it's like one of us writing it, or he doesn't go too far away from what we are.
Yeah, Will's like demand guy, it seems like. Everything, everybody, every band wants to work with him. His own band is like been blowing up for years now. Like he's like a jack of all trades, it feels like.
Yeah, he does a lot of different bands, and they all sound different. So,
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they all have their own personality.
Yeah, which is crazy to me that like he's able to pull that off so seamlessly, it feels like, and he just is always busy doing this stuff.
Right.
It's
And
wild.
that's what kind of took us a long time because he was busy with his own band also. So he had to fit us into that, when he was working. But we body count kind of does itself. We're
Mm.
we're kind of like the way we are. It doesn't go too far from the center of what we are.
So with that kind of writing process when Will's involved, where do you like fit in with your guitar stuff? Like what do you throw in there?
Well, I always try to find a place to put some notes in, some guitar solos and things like that, because
Yeah.
that's why I really don't want to produce records anymore. I just want to, sit back and play the guitar. So I
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
put as much guitar in as I can. I always said, well, the next record is going to be my guitar record. I always say that when the next record is going to be my guitar record. So the next record is going to have more guitar on it, but this one's good.
No, there's still a good amount of guitar, man. Like I think you guys have a really good balance of like all the things that you put into the band. And you know, even just like the guest people that you have on the records too, like man, I'm the song you did on the last record with Riley from Power Trip. I'm
Uh-huh.
so glad you guys had him on there, and then he unfortunately passed away too, and it's like,
He was a good kid. We
yeah,
came to one of our shows, we saw him, like we like him.
yeah,
And it worked out. I'm glad we did that song also too.
I know it's a great song, man. I love it. So how did you guys choose which guest vocalists to get on this record? Is it
Well,
just like, hey, we know these people, we want them on, or
exactly. It's like, we have Joe on there because he's in Will's band. It's
yeah,
like, we have uh Corpse Grinder because we toured with them back Cannibal Corpse back in the 90s. And Max, my guitar tech works for Mac. So
Oh,
it's not too far of a stretch, having these people on. Only one is David Gilmour. He's the stretch,
right,
and
right.
he's a stretch for everybody. How he ended up on there is like unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the Fallon thing, or
Hmm.
yes, it was Fallon, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the interview and then the performance, and like, man, that story is like,
But you don't even
if
know
you
that's. Go ahead.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
I was
No,
gonna say if
that's
you
the.
don't mind like retelling it, so people
Yeah,
that
but
maybe
that's
didn't watch it.
oh, okay. So the beginning of the story goes, Ice has always wanted to do this song because that song is an open canvas, and he wanted something for me to play guitar on because you can play almost anything on that track. So we
Yeah.
did the song. So we practiced the song. We did the song. The initial song that we did, I played guitar, and the other guitar player on that was Richie Sambora, which was
Oh,
a way outstretch. That's
yeah.
because my bass player is Richie Sambora's guitar tech. So they were in the studio, and Richie said, he said to Richie, "Oh, we're doing Comfortably Numb." He says, "Can I play?" He was like, "Okay, cool, let play on it." And I played. Richie played some stuff. I played some stuff, and that was it. So Ice did the vocals. So then we were like, "Okay, the song is done." So we said, "Let's," as I said on the show, "let's get approval for it."
Hmm.
So we sent it over to Roger, and we sent it over to David's office. Roger said, "Who's on it?" And we said, "Ice T," because I'm thinking if it was been David on that, he wouldn't have approved it, but he approved it. Then we sent it over to Gilmore, and Gilmore said, "I love it. I love it." He says, "You have my blessing. You can do it, but can I play on it?" So, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, definitely you can." So now Richie Sambora and I both take a step back, to let David Gilmour play on David Gilmour's song. So I just thought that was, I used to sneak in to see The Wall when I was like 16 years old, 17 years
Oh
old.
yeah.
Yeah, up in Hollywood because I came from South Central and caught the bus. Every week they played the uh, Song Remains the Same and The Wall in a matinee thing at night. And I would sneak in, and after a while, the owner, the theater guy, started asking me questions. "What are you doing here, kid?" Blah blah blah. I said I play guitar, and he would just let me sneak in. So I've seen those movies like 20 times a piece. So it was just an honor for him to play on the record.
Oh, it's
And,
incredible. Like even just knowing that, him and Roger Waters don't get along and the fact that they did agree on that is like it speaks volumes about you guys too and your artistic integrity towards what you put into that song, you know?
and the interesting thing of it is we were playing in Europe this summer, and he was trying to come to play with it,
Ooh,
come play the song with
man.
us. And so his office called and said, "David says he's going to play that song with you somewhere along the way." And I'm just like, wow, that's really great. I'm hoping that we, next year something happened during the Grammys and we could play on there.
Oh, that'd be incredible. That would
That
be
that's the
so
place.
dope.
That's the place to put it. You know what I mean? If you're going to have,
Yeah.
David Gilmour play, because he's never going to play that song again with Pink Floyd.
Nope.
Not no, it won't happen in this lifetime. So it would be an honor and a privilege for him to come play with us.
Yeah, I think once I found all that stuff out, I was like, I cannot believe this is real. Like, and I'm
Yeah,
sure you guys
yeah,
feel the same way, man. Like
yeah.
it's surreal.
Yeah, it's very surreal. I told Ice, I said the English guitar players really love me because I've worked with Tony Iommi. I've worked with
Legends.
yeah,
Legends, man. Um, I know as far as like lyrics, Ice handles most of that stuff, but do
right.
you do any of you guys have any other kind of input as far as like overall like because he writes a lot about like societal stuff, which is really important. Is that something that was important in the band from the get-go?
That's the format of the band. When we started the band, the first record, you listen to the first record, that kind of lays a format for what we're doing right now. So the songs like "Cop Killer," "There Goes the Neighborhood," even a song that we did. I wrote a song years ago called "The Winner Loses" about drugs and things like
Hmm.
that. So the format of the first record kind of sets the tone for every record that Body Count has done in the last 30 years. It's serious, but it's not serious, and we have a sense of humor, and we don't take ourselves too serious.
Yeah. I mean, still, I really appreciate a lot of his lyrics because, even just the comfortably numb stuff, like that final bar that he
Hmm.
gives, like
Yeah,
I was like, wow, that is like it's powerful, like I
yeah.
kind of I kind of feel the same way. It's like if there was a God and he's looking down on us, like fucking hates us all. Like
Oh yeah, we blew it.
yeah, yeah, it's
We
insane,
definitely
man.
blew it. Yeah, we definitely blew
Ugh.
it.
But I think being in a metal band, people don't expect that sometimes to be talking about like real world societal issues. People kind of go to the cliche of like, oh, they probably talking about corpses and killing women and stuff like that. And it's like, no, that's
Well,
not every metal band.
well,
So
that was the
it's
thing about body count from the start.
yeah,
We saw that, the white kids were terrified by skeletons and the morbid stuff, but body count was more like these are the streets of LA. This is more scary than anything. You know what I mean?
right.
This is real scary. So that's what made us kind of catch on. When we started the band, we had the two guys on stage with guns and stuff like that. And Anthony Kiedis says, you guys are good, but those two guys on stage, they're the scariest part of the band.
Oh my goodness. Is that on like a live video somewhere? I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, it's part of our stage act at the beginning. Two guys stood on the stage with shotguns, and
Wow.
when stage divers came, we hit them with the guns, and it was like wild.
Man. So, as far as your guitar playing these days, like, what do you do to like, like not in shape, but like practicing? Like, do you have a regimen? Like, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time with your guitar?
Well, right now I'm on this thing of trying to learn things on YouTube like everybody else.
Yeah,
So
yeah, same
YouTube
here,
is a lot
man.
of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get impatient about it. Because some of the stuff that the kids are doing, it's like, why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I taking 6 hours to learn how to do this? But it's a lot of fun. I've always been a student of the guitar, and when I quit being a student of the guitar, that's when it's over. But right now, I
Yeah.
still enjoy playing, learning different things. I don't mess around with some people like different tunings. I don't like different
Hmm.
tunings. I'm having trouble with the six strings and the drop D tuning. That's as far as I go. Like, they're like you need seven strings. I'm like, no,
Nah,
why do I
no,
need?
you
I
don't.
don't need. You can't throw this in. You can't throw this at me right now. 50 years of playing. You can't throw another string at me. It's
Have you ever messed around with one yet? Like, have
yeah.
you?
I've done it, but then I'm sitting there going, what's the purpose?
Right.
They have a pedal that can drop your notes. I'm like, well, am I trying to sound bigger? Am I trying to get rid of Juan? What am I trying to do here? What's the purpose of me sounding like this?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think they go up to like 9 strings now, I
Yeah,
believe. I've
on,
seen.
on on Comfortably Numb on Jimmy Fallon's show, Vince played a 12-string bass.
I saw that. That thing was blowing my mind. I was like, what is he
And
playing right now?
and the thing about it is, he was like, okay, I'm learning how to figure this out. On certain notes, he can only go down, and on certain parts, he can only strum up
Oh
to
my goodness.
so it wouldn't attack too much.
That thing looked cool though. Immediately when I
Yeah,
saw it, I was like, that is the craziest looking thing I've seen in a while. Like,
yeah. When he broke it out, I was like, what? Yeah,
I mean, you got to being on Fallon, man. It's like a special occasion. Got to
yeah.
sh all the cool
He broke
stuff.
that out. He broke that out 2 days before we played. So that's the first I've heard it. I was like, oh, it sounds good. It sounded really big.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was playing it on my bigger speakers here, and you even for a live performance, hear like every note. Um, I was like very surprised because sometimes when those live performances, they kind of, it's all vocals mostly. You never
Right.
really get the rest of the band.
I thought we did a good mix, and I thought I played it pretty good, considering that, we had problems on the first one. The
Mhm.
leads didn't switch and stuff like that. So we did it again, and it came out good. I was happy with the way it came out.
Yeah, what was the experience like? Well, it seems like being in that situation, playing live. Well, is it live? I've never really
Yeah,
been to.
it's actually live. That's the
Okay.
thing about it. It's actually live. But it was cool. The Roots knew who I was. I was so
Yeah.
surprised, more surprised by that. So I was just like, okay, this is cool. But Jimmy came over and he talked. We've been on that show before, but this time he
Hmm.
came to the dressing room. He wanted to talk about David Gilmour
Oh
because
yeah.
David Gilmour was on the show the week before.
Oh
And
man, that's crazy.
and everyone talked about David because Kurt, the guitar player for the Roots, he came over and talked to me about David Gilmour because David Gilmour is such a humble man. And from what I haven't met him, but I'm just listening to everyone talk about him and the things that he's done. He sold all his guitars and donated the
Wow,
money to charity.
that's
So
crazy.
millions of dollars
But
worth of
good.
guitars.
Yeah, good on him, man. That's really awesome
Yeah.
that he like
Hmm.
does that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Was it a little nerve-wracking, like having to do that, knowing that it's going to be broadcast like to America like that?
What's more nerve wracking was playing a place like CBGB's. That place was kind of chill.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, we could. It was it's controlled. It's more scary when somebody's getting up on stage trying to take your guitar. When we play those small, we play those small clubs. That's more nerve wracking when you got to hit people and that kind of stuff. So.
Was that a pretty common occurrence when you guys would play those little club shows like coming up like that?
Oh yeah, there were people would bump you and you get on the stage and strum your guitar and push your buttons. That's like in the early days of us playing, it was almost like punk, because
Yeah.
you played CBGBs, we played a place called the Outhouse. You ever heard of this place?
I've heard of CBGBs. I've not heard of the Outhouse though.
The outhouse is in the middle of where is it at? It's in the middle of a cornfield in the middle of
Oh.
nowhere. It's like a passage of all punk bands to play there. I mean, you step out in mud. It was raining, and it's like it's like the ceiling's low. They put about 1,500 people in there, and what happened was, where is it at? Oh, it's in Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh wow.
So
So it's
yes,
right in the middle of
yeah,
nowhere.
yeah, middle of nowhere. And so after the show, we were leaving out. It was muddy. Our bus got stuck in the mud. So
Oh.
we went back on stage because you open the door to get in the place. The drummer's seat is right there. I
Hmm.
mean, from outside, there's no backstage. You walk and the drummer's right there. So we asked the audience, "Can you come help us push our bus out of the mud?" So for the price of a ticket, you get to help us push the bus that's stuck in the mud.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. That's the ultimate fans. That's when you get hardcore
Yeah,
fans that are still with you for decades.
that's true, man. Like I know when I used to be involved with all that chance I got to help out a band, like even if it was something like that, if I could, I'm gonna
Yeah,
come and help push that shit out. Like, why not?
yeah, yeah. That's what's hardcore places we played. When we started off, doing this kind of stuff. Then it got plush. You start playing with Guns N' Roses, and you play all these festivals in Europe.
Oh yeah, those are real nice. They just
Yeah.
give you everything over there. It's
Oh
incredible.
yeah, we played one this past summer. It's called Hellfest. That's probably one of
Yeah.
the nicest ones we played in France. I mean, it's like 1 million people. It's like
Yeah.
way over the top. We played with the Scorpions. It's like whoa, you know.
Yeah, the band I work for, we did Hellfest like 10 years ago or something like that. And it's just something that like burned in my brain. You'll never forget it, like that whole experience. I can imagine
Yeah,
playing, you know?
we did it 10 years ago, and we did it like last year, and
Hmm.
it has gotten bigger. I mean, just like
Oof.
just even bigger. I mean, if you could imagine it getting bigger. I mean, I'm wearing this hat of this concert that we played also called Rock and Ring, Rock and they're back and forth in Germany. Two concerts,
Yeah.
all the groups switch around. Rock and Ring, Rock and Park, Rock and Ring, Rock and Park. Those are two festivals over in Europe that are huge. 200,000, 300,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of the Rock and Ring one. I haven't heard of the other one though.
It's a
There's
Rock and Park. They're
the
connected
two?
together. They just switch back and forth.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Um, so I want to ask you, as far as the new album is concerned, you guys put a lot of work into it over the years. What is the thing you were most proud of with the record overall?
I'm always just proud of getting it done.
I can
It's like
imagine.
Yeah, just being able to get all the pieces together and they come together, and then I'm happy that people are like we've gotten some of the best reviews we've ever gotten for a record, and
Yeah.
you know this is like um a sophomore record considering like we did our first record and then we did the second record and it wasn't we got fanfare on the first record, then the second record was kind of we had all that trouble and then we left, but this record we won a Grammy on this last record. So now we
Yeah.
have to do another record, and see, what happens. Now, after winning a Grammy, it's like people are like, "Oh, you're a Grammy winning band." It's like, "Oh yeah, we forgot about that." Just because it took so long to get it, and we never did think we would get to be in that category.
And that is like a weird, like hard thing to win for a metal Grammy. Every year, it's such a weird, contentious thing I've noticed where it's like, oh no, this band's gonna win for sure, and people think that
You know,
this band's gonna win, and it, I mean, I couldn't imagine, like
we got nominated, before that, and we got beat by Mastodon. We got,
uh,
yeah, we got beat by Mastodon. So this time we were kind of like, we didn't want to get our hopes up too high, and we actually won it. So it's good to win it because now it's out the way. If
mhm.
we get nominated again, we've been there, done that. We have the Grammy. You can't take it away from us. Well, you can if you do a Milli Vanilli, but for the most part, we're etched in stone.
Yeah, I mean, there are very, very few bands that can ever say that they won a Grammy. So it's like it is a notch in the post of the history of the band, man. It's incredible.
And the thing about it is, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, he's in Guns N' Roses. He says
Hmm.
we've never won a Grammy. I thought they won a Grammy. They have never won a Grammy. And then he said Jimi Hendrix has never won a Grammy. Led Zeppelin has never won a Grammy. So he said you
Yeah.
should be proud of pulling that off. So we're pull it off. Back in the day, Ice had a rap song. He says, "I never get a Grammy, so fuck the G. All I need is a crowd, MIC." And then so now we got a Grammy nomination. We're like, oh, we won a Grammy now. Now it's like it means something.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like metal was like shunned from that for a long time until like the Metallica Jethro Tull thing happened. And
Right,
then that's
right.
when people were like, oh, metal is a legitimate genre that we have to recognize.
It's cool because it's best metal performance. It's not best metal song. It's best
Right.
metal performance. And Ice says that just proves that we can play. And that's a good one. It's not a songwriter thing. It's not a producer thing. It's the band can play.
Yeah.
That's what metal performance is.
Yeah, I mean, you guys seem to have like a pretty tight show. I watched a few live videos here and there and stuff. I've never seen you guys live yet, but
Oh, you got to do that.
I know, man.
Yeah,
I genuinely very, very shows.
right.
I'm just getting up there in
Well,
age, you
well,
know.
while while we still getting around. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. But it's to be where you guys are at and still a show like that speaks about like how passionate you guys are about the
Oh,
band and everything you do.
it's a lot of fun. When it's not fun, you don't do it anymore. It's still fun. We don't play a whole lot. That's the thing about it is Body Count
Yeah.
doesn't tour like Metallica. We don't do 200 shows a year. We might do 30 or 40 max, 30, 40 max a year. And so we get a chance to hang out. We get a chance not to see each other. And I get the chance to hang out with my high school friends, four of my high school friends that I've known for 50 years are on the tour with us. So that's what makes Body Count fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, man. Like also I wanted to ask too, like over the years, see members
Yep.
to cancer and being
Hmm.
murdered and everything, when you're on stage, maybe you don't think about it consciously, but maybe subconsciously, like you still feel like, you're doing it for them, to keep that alive too, like their spirit and everything.
It's the spirit of the band. I've had 7 variations of this band since
Yeah,
I
man.
started. There's been 7 variations. The only ones that have worked is this one, the first
Uh-huh.
one, and the one I have now. The ones in the middle didn't work. And I tell Ice, I said it's because we had the original members of the band, but every member in the band right now is once removed from the original member of the band. So
Oh,
when
that's incredible.
Beatmaster V passed, we got a drummer to replace him. That drummer, you can't replace Beatmaster V. I say you can't, but you can replace OT. You can replace the drummer that we got to replace him. So we replaced him. When Moose passed, you can't replace Moose, but you can
No.
replace Grizz. So Vince is here. So everyone's one away from the original. So you don't look at the person going, thinking of the original member. You think of the member that he replaced. So that's kind of what makes it work.
Yeah. So one last thing here, so don't take up too much more of your time.
Sure, that's
I
fine.
know. Okay. Um,
It's good. That's good.
I didn't know if we had a time limit or anything. I usually
No,
try to
no, yeah.
keep it around an hour or so.
Again, yeah, that's good. That's
Um,
good, Bob.
Ice mentioned he was watching a bunch of horror movies when he
Hmm.
started writing. Are you a horror fan? Like, what other kind of entertainment are you into?
Well, here's Ice is into horror. He makes me. I've been knowing him for forever. I sit and
Yeah.
watch these horror movies with him. Me personally, I'm horrified of horror. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm an only child. So when I sit at home, I was an only child raised by my father. I watch
Uh,
horror movies at home by myself. I'm like, oh, this is scary. I'm not going to be doing this too much. I was scared of the Wizard of Oz because being an only child by yourself, it's scary at night when there's nobody
yeah.
around. So if you had brothers and sisters and something like that, but he loves horror movies, and I like the still photos of horror movies, but I don't like
Yeah.
the jolt of it.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that part. I don't really like the jump scare stuff. It's just like, all right,
Yeah,
I get it. Like the
I've seen.
psychological stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some that are good, but he loves it to death. That's his whole get down. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, he was in a Leprechaun movie. That's what more can
yeah.
you?
But I always say, well, but he was a ranger in the army, so that more so.
Yeah. Well, the record obviously just came out.
Mhm.
What is the plan going into 2025? Like, are you guys going to tour?
We
Obviously,
we have some dates we're going to do. We're not going to tour a whole lot this year. I believe because you got to set up the tour a year before you tour. So we
oh
just
wow.
finished touring last year, so we needed to be doing planning that tour when we were touring that last tour, which is hard to do when you project ahead like that. So we'll start planning a whole tour this summer. But we're going to play the Warp Tour. Kevin Lyman's doing a Warp Tour, a big festival, like the way they do Lollapalooza, like a couple of big
Yeah.
festival shows. So we're going to play one of those. We're going to play one of those rock shows big down in Daytona. Probably some more festivals and things like that in the States. We're trying to play some more in the States here. And then next year, the 25, which happens in a drop of an eye, we'll be
I
out
know, man.
playing, we'll
I
be out
can't.
playing again.
Sorry. I think
Good.
there's a little bit of a delay here. That's why I don't mean to interrupt you, man.
No, delays are good. Actually, yeah, delays are good. Like a delay, yeah.
So, as far as Carnivore, have you guys finally got to play songs off that, like live and everything?
I think we play a couple of songs,
Okay.
one or two songs. I'm not sure which ones we play actually,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's so many. We have so many songs now that when we play these festivals, they get you down to about 40 minutes. So it's hard to work these songs into 40 minutes. We do a medley of some songs. We hook songs together.
Oh, that's
So
clever.
when we do our own shows, our club shows, we play for an hour and a half, so we get a chance to play all the songs we normally don't play.
That's good because that's got to suck, writing that whole record and then like never getting to play any of it. So I was curious if like you finally got to get some of it out there.
Not really. No, we really haven't played a lot of it just because it just
Man.
went by so fast,
Yeah.
And so then we were out experimenting, over the summer, we're trying to play these songs to see how they work.
Hmm.
So
What's been the big song everybody's like resonated with so far that you've noticed?
Psychopath and
Okay.
Comfortably Numb, but Comfortably Numb has to be played in a at night. Sometimes we play festivals during the day. We play it at night, and we play it in our own show. We close the show with it. We close the show
Nice.
with a slow song, and because we played a festival up here, Aftershock, and
Hmm.
it was huge. We got one of the biggest audiences that was there, and then all the people started waving lighters. We're like, oh, this is new for us. We're not that kind of band. We usually have a pit and people hitting each other, and people were standing still waving their lighters or their phones or whatever they had. So we thought that was very cool. Just a whole different vibe.
So what's the craziest thing you have witnessed on tour in the crowd that somebody's done at one of your shows?
Um, I don't know. I like the Wall of Death. I like
Yeah.
watching that. That's pretty wild. I saw Randy do that, and
Yeah.
he controlled the audience. Randy is my guy. He controls the audience. That's been pretty wild. I've seen people climb speakers and
Oh
all
wow.
that crazy madness that goes on. But anything is possible in rock and roll. Everything is like
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I've been kicked out of my fair share of shows for doing all that stuff too when I was younger, man.
Yeah,
Trying to
exactly.
climb on stuff.
It's I've never done that, but because I'm just like I'm worried about falling. That's always been my thing, just not to fall.
Yeah, it's the liquid courage, you know. We talked about drinking earlier. It's like I'd
Yeah.
just have a little one too many and be like, I can definitely jump off that into the crowd, no problem, and I won't get
Yeah.
hurt.
But I remember the best guitar solo I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
When I was drinking, right? So I did a guitar solo. It was really good. And so then I was on the other side of the stage, and I decided, I don't know what made me do this, but I threw my guitar. And so, but the guitar landed exactly on a button that cut everything off. It landed right there, cut everything off, and the light man did the lights at the same time.
Oh
I
my
remember that.
goodness.
Yeah, it landed exactly on the button, my cutoff button. Instead of
That's
going,
incredible.
usually I would just drop the guitar, throw it, and it hums and feedbacks and all that. I threw it and it hit the button and cut off, and the light man did it, and it was like, whoa! I'm like, wow, can we do that again? Can we make
Car
that
was
part of
okay.
the
Did it
show?
break?
It was a guitar, but it had a chip missing from it off the
That's not
back.
bad. For throwing
Yeah,
it, that's not
I,
bad.
I, I, I broke necks, because I use
Yeah.
these guitars. I use these guitars that just have to, like Eddie's guitars, just bolted together. And I broke necks and all this kind of stuff. I remember one time I broke a neck, and I was throwing the neck out in the audience, and Ice was going to throw my locking tremolo. I said, no, 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 don't throw that. They cost some money.
That's
I said,
expensive. Yeah.
save the tremolo. Plus, it's left-handed. Left-handed Floyd Rose. And I said, save this. You can throw all the body and all these pieces away, but don't throw my tremolo.
No way. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can imagine like left-handed guitar stuff has got to be way more expensive and like harder to find than
It,
anything
yeah,
right-handed.
like Jimmy played a Strat because Strat works because it has that cutaway. You can play it right-handed or left-handed. But some guitars, like people said, have you ever played a Tele? I'm like, no, I really haven't played Telecasters and things like that. Actually, I have a model out that I have now. It's by Schecter. It's called an
Hmm.
EC1, and it's selling pretty good. It's like you know, um, one piece body through neck, and it sounds really good. But the guitars I use on stage, they don't have no knobs on them. My
Oh,
guitars
really?
don't have no knobs. I've learned that long ago. I just have an on-off switch. There's no knobs on my guitars.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes I'm like, what do these knobs even do when I'm playing
It,
guitar, you
it's
know? It's just like I don't need
it's
them.
metal. It's metal. But since we play comfortably numb, it's kind of a different guitar tone.
Yeah.
The guitar, the guitar I have, it works because there's a different guitar tone for the rhythms and lead. But for the most part, body count is guitar on or off. I mean, it's like there's no in between. It's on or off.
What was the guitar you had on Fallon that you were playing?
that was my guitar. That was
Okay,
the
cool.
Ernie C one. Yeah, that's why I had that one because it goes from the rhythms are nice and clean and
Yeah.
chimey, and then the leads are a whole different thing. But the guitars that I play on stage, they don't do that.
It's utilitarian, man. So it's got you got two different functionalities for it. You got what's on stage and then what do you record with, you know?
Yeah, it looks. Plus, the guitar looks good. It has a crazy
Yeah.
paint job. The fancy stuff.
Are you are you guy like do you have a lot of guitars? You just kind of like you got one or two and that's what you stick with?
No, I have a bunch of guitars. I used to have a whole bunch, but I started getting rid of them because then I was like, I don't play them.
Yeah.
And I have mostly my um not Schecters now. I have
Mhm.
Schecters, but I've used Fenders, I've used Gibsons, over the years. But I like the Fernand. I mean the Schecters. I keep on saying Fernandez. I used some of those. Used to use those too. Also, I used Mosers. They had the
Oh,
best paint
nice.
jobs. Yeah,
I
all
remember those.
BC Riches. Yeah, BC Riches.
Yeah, Schecter was my first guitar, man, that I ever bought.
They're
It was it
they're
was
they're
nice.
they're, they're good metal guitars.
Yeah.
They're good solid guitars.
Yeah. If I had somebody steal it from me, so I kind of miss that guitar still.
Uh, that's the thing. Guitars get stolen. I got guitars
I
stolen. I
know.
got one guitar stolen, and somebody tried to sell it back to me. What's so
What?
funny was okay, so somebody stole a guitar from us, and somebody that worked for us stole a guitar, and he gave it to somebody, and I found the guitar. So then I was like calling the guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'll sell it to you for 10,000." I'm like, "That guitar it's only worth like $150 most, and it had no sentimental value because I always say you don't love nothing that won't love you back. So I don't love
Yeah.
guitars. So so he's trying to sell it to me for $10,000, and
That's
so
insane.
so then he's like, "Do you have a police report?" Because he knew what he was doing. So I went to the police station like 5 years after the fact, trying to get a police report for a guitar, but it was a guitar with a cop badge on it with a bullet through it. And they're like, "What does the guitar look like?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't want to hear this."
Oh no.
Yeah.
Was it like a guitar that you had, or did you put this stuff on there?
No, it was painted on there. It was a
Oh wow.
cop badge painted on there, 666 with a bullet through it and blood dripping off of it. And so
Damn.
I was at the police station trying to get a police report on a guitar. They're like, "What does it look like?" Well, it has a badge on it. So that didn't work because they wouldn't give me a police report. So the guy still has the guitar. So
Man, I wonder.
I had
You
to.
think if you?
I had some people. I had some people that wanted to go over there and get it from him, and I was
Yeah.
like, it's going to end up like OJ. OJ went to go get his Heisman Trophy back.
Yeah.
So I said, no, we can't do. Just let it be.
I mean, you got to think too, though. Now it's probably still not worth $10,000, but
No,
it's got to be worth at
no,
least a little more now. It's like it's an older
yeah,
guitar. It's custom.
yeah, yeah, whatever. So we'll see what he does with it. So
That's
I'll get another
that's
one made and just call it the original.
ha. That's the way to do it. Just
Yeah,
be
it's
like, sorry, man.
that's like when you're in Italy, right? You go in Italy, the mafia controls everything. So you go in there with your T-shirts, right? You have all your T-shirts you're getting ready to
Yeah.
sell inside the venue. They set up outside the venue and say to you, "These are now the official T-shirts. The ones you have, the original ones, are bootleg now." So
Yeah, I remember, man, we had some wild stuff happen to us in Italy.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember all of it because we got a little too, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I remember when we were trying to leave the venue one night, this
Uh-huh.
car like sprinter comes down the road in front of us, and the next thing we know, the guy just lifts up a gun, shakes his head no, and points for us to back up, and we're like, well, I guess we back up now, and
Oh, yeah, that's about right. That's
yeah,
about right.
it's
Yeah,
like I
that's about
guess we're
right.
gonna wait.
The Italians used to run the world, but they run that country.
Yeah. Well, Ernie, first I want to say congratulations on the new record.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I mean, the band's history is deep and historic. You guys are a seminal part of heavy metal as far as I'm concerned. So thank you and congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much. Let me get a picture, okay? Hold on. Let
Yeah,
me get a
man, go
picture.
for it.
Let me
Yeah.
get a picture. Uh-oh. Wrong button. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, oh, there it is.
I
Okay,
can also take a photo for you guys.
Yeah.
what? It's like,
Hey
okay,
guys, sorry, I've just been in the background.
okay. Hold on.
No worries.
How did that happen? Uh-oh. There you go.
Yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your time, man. I thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I had a great.
It's
It was a
man, it's
blast.
an honor.
And you got
Seriously.
to come see us. You got to come see us play.
I know,
You
man. I
got to
really
come
do want
see us
to,
play.
like, genuinely.
You will.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna hold this back until the new year, just because I know going into holidays, like nobody's gonna
Yeah,
be listening or watching YouTube.
everybody's busy.
So
Everybody, let me know when you do it. Okay.
absolutely, man. I'll be tagging you and stuff, and I'll send it Nina's way. Whatever works.
Cool. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
man.
you,
Have a good
Nina.
rest of your day.
Thank, thank,
Hi
thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
there you go. Bye bye.
guys. Hey.
Bye bye.
Hey, thanks so much for checking that episode out. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening and or watching this on Spotify. Please give it 5 stars. Getting this thing up, in the ranks of all the stuff that goes on in podcasts is great. If you're listening on iTunes, same thing. Helps out a lot, especially coming back from a hiatus. This is just the start for the year, so we got some good stuff planned. Hopefully, next episode is gonna be a pretty good one too. And yeah, thank you guys so much for checking it out. Thank you so much for last year, and really looking forward to this year.